So yes, it's good to start. Um, Before starting the conversation about marketing and HR occupations, I will let you brief about some interesting services which is provided by Aussizz Group only rather than education and migration. So yes, Aussizz Group is helping with PTE, NATI, CCL, IELTS, professional year program, as well as the policies for OSHC, OVHC, all for international students. And one more interesting, which is 𝐸𝐴𝐳. So 𝐸𝐴𝐳 is the application which you can download and save it in your phone and keep it in your pocket. And this application is very helpful to get yourself updated about the migration updates. So whatever the new migration updates will come, you will get at a time the notification to 𝐸𝐴𝐳 and keep yourself updated about the migration updates. Yes, so this is the look about 𝐸𝐴𝐳 application. So here is some information as well. So you can get the information about visa options, state nomination criteria, eligibility, estimated visa fees. All those information you can know about know through this application. So yeah, now we can jump on to marketing. So why study marketing? First of all, what is the marketing rather than why study marketing? So marketing is the action or business which is promoting and selling the products or services. So if we are nowadays can see that if we want to purchase something, then also we can see and go through and browse the pages, and only then we can see the reviews, and only then we can purchase or buy or sell something. So this is only marketing which is actually everyone is using their in their day by day activities, and it is quite more popular nowadays rather than the in-store shopping. So this could be very great, even though like it will effectively helping to the any of the businesses, and it is creating the brand awareness, as well as it can be able to promoting selling any of the products. Marketing campaigns also can be run by it, so it has a lots of benefits about the marketing. Along with the marketing, why you can study HR as well. So HRM is the thing which like every department has to have in any of the workplace, and these things well can be relevance to any of the workers' relevance. So yes, HR can have to have clarify that how the employee can be motivated and training their development, their work culture. They can check the organizational goals and they can maintain it as well. They can maintain the data and compliance sheets as well, retentions as well. Team building and team integration is more effective at any of the workplace. So this too is very interesting occupations at this moment. Yes, this too is available in diploma and advanced diploma level as well. So you require either year 12 or any secondary certificate or any that kind of equivalent certificates, and you require overall 5.5 bands, no band less than 5, and you have to have 18 years of age to study diploma or advanced diploma level. But here is the interesting, which is bachelor and master level courses, because diploma doesn't have that kind of the qualification, but bachelor and master is the main and main of your base of the education. So yes, for bachelor, you have to have year 12 or equivalent study completion, and you have to have, yes, above 18 years of age with overall 6.5 and no band less than 6 bands. And master level course is required any of the bachelor degree completion with the same band requirement, overall 6.5 with no band less than 6. Popular courses in marketing and HR is either you can study Bachelor of Marketing, Master of Marketing. You can study either in MBA in HR or marketing. You can study in international business also in marketing or HR kind of the qualifications. These can be pathway as a marketing manager or human resource manager, and you can study this program annually in between 32 to 45,000. The huge gap in between the fee structure is just because it will be depending upon the university to university. But nowadays, all universities are providing a huge scholarship to all international students. Some of them have the flat scholarship plans as well in between 10 to 15,000 for yearly. So it is, yes, for international students only. After completing your study in marketing, you can work as a director of marketing, marketing manager, SEO manager, analyst or specialist, content manager, social media manager. And here is the wages as well, which is quite good to work in as a marketing stream. Job outcomes for HR graduates. So whoever completed their degree either in bachelor or master in human resource management, those persons can be work as a HR graduate coordinators, HR advisors, consultants, or ER or IR managers, or they can work as internal recruiting managers as well. And it is also having a huge salary scopes. Popular courses in human resource, it is bachelor and master obviously. So bachelor and master both are having human resource management, and after completing this program you can be the career outcomes can be the human resource management, recruitment consultant, workplace relation advisor, and human resource advisor. This course fee structure is also falls in the category in between 24 to 36,000 annually. And yes, these both courses are actually available in all states. In most of the universities are having this. Let's say I could say that Utah's in Tasmania, Macquarie University, Western Sydney University, Latrobe University, University of Wollongong, UTS, University of Newcastle, Deakin University, Monash University, University of Melbourne, Curtin University, University of Adelaide, University of South Australia. So there is a lots of university in each and every states, and all most of the universities is having this program. Yes, this program scale assessment is done by VETASYS scale assessment body. About the scale assessment and all those information, one of our registered migration team member will brief you soon. Yeah, after completing this program, you will be eligible for your post-study work rights. So as long as you have completed either bachelor or master in marketing or human resource management, you will be qualified to apply for 2 to 3 years of TR after it. If you have any questions, you can drop it here. Thank you so much for attending this session. Now I will hand over to my next registered migration agent to brief you on it.
Hello friends, this is Kamaljeet Singh, registered migration agent. And first of all, thanks Ekta. It was a pretty informative session when it comes to marketing and HR courses. So yes, guys, basically this session we are doing in regards to these occupations, which will be focusing on, whether I should go into marketing, whether I should go into HR. We have seen candidates who have studied, some kind of studies when it comes from outside Australia as well. So what I'll do is I'll probably go with you guys very slowly on the process, how it works with the skill assessment process and how it's going to work for you guys for a PR pathways as well. And moreover, if you guys have any kind of questions coming in your mind, or if you guys already have some kind of questions, you can drop it in, basically in the chat box, and I'll probably go through with this. So yes, while I'm going through this, session, anything to regard with the course requirement and stuff, you can drop on the section in the chat box. And in the meantime, let me quickly share my screen. I'll run through a PPT with you guys, which I've personally prepared to understand how things gonna work for marketing and HR sort of occupations. Okay. All right, guys. First of all, my name is Kamaljeet Singh. I'm a registered migration agent. I've been working with Aussizz Group from the last 5 years. Today the session is gonna be marketing and HR occupations. Without wasting time, let's move forward. Let me introduce to some of our products, which Aussizz Group basically provides. PTE, IELTS, Get My Policy, CCL, Professional Year, and OcuSearch. PTE is one of those products which most of the candidates, have to go into when they are requiring for their English points, when they want to increase their points. So if you are that type of a candidate who want to get through a knowledge of PTE, it's a free sort of an app which allows you to go through and do some kind of mock test for free. And you can go on and start assessing your scores, what kind of scores you will be requiring or you are planning to achieve in your future. Another one, the good application is OcuSearch. OcuSearch is another product of Aussizz Group. Guys, this OcuSearch app is a mobile application. It basically allows you to, understand the process of point system. It allows you to understand the eligibility criteria of the skill assessment for the occupation. And most of the occupations it tells you that on what kind of visa subclasses we can apply any kind of those occupations. So I'll give you a handy tip. Let's say, for example, we have seen an occupation called recruitment consultant. If someone is not sure that whether I want to apply for an employer sponsor visa, or should I apply for 189 or 190 or 491, you can download this application. You can basically make your account, go onto the occupation. You can select series of the occupation if you want to have more information regards to those occupations. It's very easy to understand. It will tell you with this certain occupation what kind of visas you can apply. For example, you can apply for 189 or not, 190 or not. Moreover, it also educates you about the point system, how basically your point system works. You can fill in your individual sort of information when it comes to your highest qualification, your IELTS PT score, whether you have done IT, regional study, and all those kind of things. So it will also educate you in regards to that. So it's pretty handy tab, free of cost. So application is always basically monitored by a migration agent. And our migration team always makes sure that the information which we have provided in the application is up to date. Moreover, the application also educates you upon the skill assessment. This is a very sort of handy application for the candidates who are basically trying to understand what is skill assessment, what are the requirements, what is the fee structure, and all those kind of information. Moreover, if you guys have clicked on the notification, once you have downloaded the app, you fill in your data, make sure you have clicked for the notifications, because the notifications, if there are any kind of updates in regards to for example, your skill assessment, point system, or all those kind of information, you will receive a normal updates coming on daily basis if there are any kind of updates in your mobile application. So yeah, you guys should go ahead and search OssizZ application on your Apple Store or Google Play Store, and hopefully this particular application will assist you in understanding how the process works. Before I proceed further, guys, I'm currently in Victoria. I'll educate you more about our offices in Victoria. So we are all over through Victoria because it's a beautiful state, livable city in the world. Collins Street branch, Melbourne, is our head office where I'm personally located. Then we've got another branch, Elizabeth, Hawthorne, Dandenong, Pakenham, Thomastown, Werribee, Footscray, Truganina, Clayton, Glenroy. All the branches are being understood and educated by our registered migration agent. We have qualified counselors who are educating our clients on their education requirement. We have got migration agents, and every single branch have got a registered migration agent to assist you with your migration inquiries. So feel free to go to any nearest Victorian branch to understand your eligibility criteria. And the services which we provided are, general skill migration, employer sponsor visas, visitor visas, global talent visa program, partner visas, which are basically where we are, helping the candidates who are Australian PR citizens, eligible New Zealand citizens, to bring their partner on permanent basis. We've got parent visas, family visas, temporary activity visas, which is COVID visas, one of them, protection visas, business visas. Temporary activity visas also include entertainment visas, guys, where we have helped so many celebrities to come to Australia, and perform and entertain you guys, on different sort of platforms, from the best singers to the comedians and all those kind of celebrities. So yes, we have been in the industry since 2009, and we have so many candidates to achieve their dream. So go ahead to visit your nearest Aussizz Group branch. If you're in Victoria, if you're in some other states, it's always good to research about the migration agents. It always gives us a confidence as well. If we are lagging behind in something, at least we can improve, or else we can try our very best to give you our services. Let's move on to our topic now, guys. Management, human resource, marketing, prospective career options. Now, these occupations which have been written on your left-hand side, guys, if you are watching these occupations, starting from management consultant, hotel and motel manager, accommodation and hospitality managers, cafe restaurant managers, managing directors, marketing specialist, sales and marketing managers, human resource advisors, human resource managers, facility managers. Most of these occupations, are those occupations which come under general stream. Basically these are professional occupations, nothing to do with the trade occupations, very professional occupations, highly reputed jobs, being paid very nice amount of money. The only differences would rely upon these occupations is that your qualification and basically, what kind of experience we are coming from background. So we will, see a certain amount of candidates who have studied, for example, MBA in human resource. So those kind of candidates are highly skilled. Going on with human resource manager occupation or human resource advisor sort of occupation, we have got other candidates who have studied something related to like diploma of hospitality management. So these are the occupations like hotel motel manager or a restaurant manager, where those candidates will be fitting in. So yes, today we'll be discussing what are the processes, to move further. So how the process works is, guys, that before even we are thinking about PR process in Australia, you must have skill assessment. What is the skill assessment? Skill assessment is a piece of documentation which tells the Department of Home Affairs, which is immigration, or the case officer, that what is your occupation. So any person, let's say, for example, nurse, teacher, manager, any sort of person who is a skilled worker, if he or she wants to, get permanent residency in Australia through general skill migration or employer sponsor visas, may require skill assessment. Now, for general skill migration visas, it's a mandatory skill assessment requirement. So basically, it's a piece of document which tells the immigration what is your occupation. Okay. Moving forward, who gives us this piece of document? So most of the occupation, guys, when it comes to managerial role, or I should call it a general occupations, fall under a skill assessment authority, which is 𝐸𝐻. Now, 𝐸𝐻, has been very long in the industry. They've done so many occupations, and this particular assessment authority is pretty good in assessing all these occupations which we are discussing today, from hotel motel manager to human resource advisors and record managers, marketing specialists. We have got advertising specialists as well. Again, it's not an art, but yeah, all those general occupations, where a candidate like pharmacy technicians, 𝐸𝐻 is responsible for the skill assessment. So now we have understood our occupation. We have understood our skill assessment authority. 𝐸𝐻 is your skill assessment authority when it comes to, managerial sort of role, or like human advisor sort of role. Now, for 𝐸𝐻 skill assessment, what is the requirement? So now comes the requirement. Now, once you have assessed your occupation, then we move on to assessing, okay, what is the requirement of the occupation? For most of the qualification related to consultants, marketing and management, usually 𝐸𝐻 requires a qualification which is minimum bachelor's level or higher, because guys, we are talking about professional occupations. So I'm not talking about restaurant managers or stuff. We are talking about more professional marketing managers and stuff. Minimum bachelor's of qualification is required, or higher sort of degree. In most of the scenarios, we have seen candidates who have either studied in Australia or who have not studied in Australia do possess some kind of bachelor's or master's, which is relevant to their occupation, like human resource advisor. So yes, secondly, the qualification should be highly relevant to your nominated occupation. So what does that mean is that if you are going in a managerial sort of role, your qualification must also be in managerial role, something related to business or something. It can't be, for example, you've done a bachelor's in biotech and now you want to apply something in a managerial role. So it will not basically assist you in, help you that much, because the case officer, the assessor, I should say, the 𝐸𝐻 assessor will feel like, okay, this candidate has studied something else. He has, basically occupation. Let's take an example, Bachelor's of Arts. Okay, the candidate has done Bachelor's of Arts, B.Ed, and went on studied MSc something, and now he or she has got an occupation called copywriter or something. Doesn't relate, the occupation doesn't relate. So it's always best, before you are selecting the occupation, guys, it must meet the relevancy of what kind of qualification you have studied upon, in Australia or outside Australia. Now, in order to achieve the successful skill assessment, guys, you must have both qualification and employment, assessment positive. So what does that mean is that if, let's say, for example, they have said that you must have minimum Australian qualification framework of bachelor's degree or higher. if your bachelor's is not equal to Australian AQF level, so then they will not be considering your employment. So basically, if your occupation says, okay, this particular, for example, human resource advisor, this candidate must have minimum bachelor's sort of qualification, and you have studied your bachelor's from outside Australia. If you are considering those levels, the level must be equal. It relies on a lot many situations. For example, where you have studied, what kind of division you are holding in your bachelor's. So it will be a lot many scenarios where we have to assess whether your bachelor's from outside Australia and your bachelor's level in Australia, whether they are equal or not. So you have to make sure, number one, we have to meet the qualification assessment. Number two is your employment assessment. Then comes your employment, where assessors will be looking at a lot many scenarios. Number one, your duties, how long you have been in the role for, they will be looking at your organization charts and understanding whether this particular occupation does requires any kind of that position which you have given them. For example, you can't have an HR where a candidate, a business only have like 3 people. So it has to be a scale and scope of the business, understanding that the position basically requires in the company you have been working in this position. And yes, then comes your duties, that what kind of duties we are holding upon. And so yes, VET-Assess requires your positive assessment for both qualification and employment to give you the skill assessment. Okay. In addition to qualification, it is essential for the applicant to meet employment criteria. Now the question requires is asked to us, okay, how many hours of work experience do VET-Assess requires? VET-Assess requires, guys, minimum 20 hours of work experience. Now the candidates who have studied or worked outside Australia, normally we have seen the different countries have different duration of work which is required per week. As per VET-Assess guidelines, a minimum 20 hours of work experience is required per week, or you can say 40 hours fortnightly. So in that case, if you are that type of candidate who has studied in Australia and you are planning to get your skill assessment done, you must have minimum 20 hours of work experience in your nominated occupation after your qualification, not prior to your qualification or during your qualification. It must be after your qualification. We have seen some occupations where the assessment has been done on the basis of 5 years of work experience, 3 to 5 years of work experience, and depending upon what kind of occupation you're coming from. Most of the managerial sort of occupations must be related to your, let's take an example. Let's say, for example, if someone has done bachelor's and they are going into an occupation where minimum qualification is bachelor's, and now you are studying master's, and during that you are doing 20 hours, still it's fine. But if someone hasn't done bachelor's and is already working on that occupation, VET-Assess will not consider this, because 1 year of work experience must be after qualification and in the last 5 years. That doesn't mean like I finished my bachelor's in 2009, I've got 1 year work experience in 2010, can I get the skill assessment? The answer is no. Qualification is fine, but your employment assessment or your work experience must be in last 5 years, which is 1 year in last 5 years. Okay. The main basically assessment when the assessors are doing, they are focusing upon what kind of tasks, roles, responsibilities, and duties a candidate is performing. Let's say, for example, take an occupation like marketing specialist. So when you are going into a marketing specialist, they are trying to first of all understand, okay, do you have any kind of qualification which is a major in marketing? Okay, number one. Number two, okay, let's move on to situation 2. Okay, he's got the qualification. Now what kind of task he's performing? So when it comes to marketing specialist, the candidate again must understand how the market is working, what kind of policies are being introduced to the company. It's a lot many tasks which a candidate performs, but assessor will be looking at whether that candidate is performing the tasks highly relevant to the occupation, not highly relevant or favorable to the company, is more or less whether that tasks are highly relevant to the occupation. So we must make sure qualification and employment assessment must be done. Okay, if your qualification is not highly relevant to your relevant field, 3 years of work experience in most of the occupations we have seen will be required. Undertaken last 5 years, working 20 hours, highly relevant to nominated occupation. This reduces to 2 years, if AQF level diploma or highly relevant field is. Now, what is this is, guys? Basically, easy scenarios, guys, that I've done my bachelor's or master's, which is highly relevant to my occupation. Let's say marketing, and now I'm doing working in marketing. In that case, let's say I've done master's in marketing. I've got 1 year work experience in master's in marketing. It's totally fine. But let's say I've got, something like, master's in IT, and now I've done like 3 years of work experience in marketing. Then because your qualification is not relevant, then the assessor will say, okay, because your master's is relevant to Australian qualification framework, but 3 years of work experience will be required, if you are getting the skill assessment done. So yes, okay. Now we have seen, guys, there are candidates who have worked in such kind of a role where they are doing multitasking. Their involvement is in like that I can get this skill assessment plus I can get this skill assessment as well. We'll take an example. Let's say, for example, if someone has done bachelor's of technology, electronics and communication, they came to Australia, they did masters in marketing, and now they have got 1 year of work experience as marketing specialist. Now we know that easy scenario, according to VET-Assess guidelines, that particular candidate has already fulfilled the requirement of VET-Assess, which is 1 year of work experience after the qualification. But remember, because that guy did BTech in electronics and communication, he's also eligible to get the skill assessment as an electronics engineer or engineering technologist. So it's always beneficial, guys, to secure a multiple skill assessments. Why we are saying this is because we have seen, from the experience and the way immigration is working, they will always try get this occupation invitations first and that occupation invitation first. So if you are that type of a candidate that who possesses that kind of a qualification and experience where we can basically obtain multiple skill assessment, I'll probably advise you to do so, because you will see sometimes we have seen in managerial occupations the invitation doesn't come, but in engineering occupations the invitations will come, and sometimes it's vice versa, depending upon which states we are living on, what kind of points you guys are holding, and salary which you are earning. So yes, there are chances of different states nomination eligibility if it is open, if you have multiple skill assessment in different occupations. So yes, if you're different, that type of a guy, a candidate who possesses that kind of qualification where we can obtain 2 separate skill assessment, I'll advise you to do so, because you never know in future in what kind of visa you're going to be getting invitation upon. Now this is our second authority who does the skill assessment for human resource manager. So we have seen candidates who have been working as a human resource manager. They might be possessing bachelor's or master's when it comes to human resource sort of occupation. Very, very, I should say, familiar with the employment and the education from outside Australia. We have seen candidates studying bachelor's and master's related to human resource. They have worked as an HR. Now they are on a role of an HR. What is the skill assessment authority names? Who does the skill assessment for HR managers is IML, Institute of Managers and Leaders. Where an applicant has got bachelor's or master's, the applicant must show at least 3 years of work experience as an HR related role. In the role as an HR manager for at least 2 years out of the 3 years. So for example, guys, when we are talking about managerial roles, no company in the world will give you a role as a manager straight away. So what IML basically is saying that, okay, if you are a human resource manager, number one, you must have minimum bachelor's or master's degree comparable to AQF level. Number two, you must have at least 3 years of work experience, out of which 2 years must be in HR. So what they are expecting is, the candidate started in some kind of a role where he was assisting the HR and a manager, and then he was promoted towards HR manager role. So again, what they are saying is, make sure, guys, we can't just say, okay, I finished my master's in human resource and I went to this company and they just hired me as a manager. That way it doesn't work. It has to be a very sort of a ladder, what the IML is trying to see. that, okay, this candidate was given this role, then he did these many years in this role, and then he was promoted towards HR. That is the requirement what they have mentioned upon. Okay, where the applicant does not hold a relevant bachelor's or master's, which is equivalent to AQF level, 5 years of work experience is required, and HR manager again at least 2 years. So this is somewhere where a candidate has not studied something in HR, but he has studied more in business or something else, but he has been working in HR from last 5 years, 2 years as an HR manager. You can go ahead and get your skill assessment done as an human resource manager. Okay, now let's talk about our occupation lists. Now, you guys might have already heard that department in May 2023 made an announcement. The immigration minister made an announcement. They are planning to come up with this list, where they will just get rid of all these medium, long, short term, ROL, all these complicated sort of lists, and there might be only one list focusing upon the skill which is required by Australia. But at the moment, I have to educate you on to what is this list. This list is basically a list given by a department, where a candidate must have an occupation in that particular list to be eligible for permanent residency under general skill migration or employer sponsor visas. So this list is basically used for highly skilled migrants who wants to migrate to Australia on permanent basis or on a temporary basis. For example, 482 visas, 407 visas. These are all temporary visas. Then comes 491, 189, 190, 186 are all these visas where these lists will be used to assess the criteria. So how basically the list will work is it's a medium and long-term strategic skills list. So let's take an example. Why they have made this list. Okay, in Australia, guys, they will come up with the occupation. Let's say, for example, cook, and chef. All right. So when they are making this list, they are already looking up at the skill level. Okay, if that candidate is a chef, he is a highly skilled candidate. That occupation will go on to a medium and long term. Then comes the occupation, for example, cook. In that particular occupation, it will come back to short-term list. Same goes with our marketing list. Same goes with our human resource manager. So we are seeing that when candidates are looking for occupations, you should always focus to get your occupation which is in MLTSSL list, and then STSOL list, and the last list which we are looking on is ROL, which is a regional occupation list. I would personally not advise to go on to that. We should always try to get into MLTSSL list. STSOL, as I previously mentioned, is short-term list. This list is the one where basically we will see that states will start inviting candidates for different sort of occupation, again eligible for 407, 491, 482, 190, 186, but not for basically occupations like you should say let's say teachers, social workers, managerial roles. They are all coming under MLTSSL list. Most of the occupations which are not in high demand will come under short-term skill occupation list, only eligible for some of the visas. So you can see in employer sponsors, this list is pretty useful for the employers, because they will see that, okay, this candidate has been nominated under ST as well. That means he can't get permanent in future. So make sure, guys, when you are talking to your employers, try to get where your occupation is in medium long-term list rather than ST as well list. Now let's move on to, we have understood the skill assessment criteria, we have understood the list, we have understood, okay, we require minimum bachelor's and master's. Now what is the process? Okay, and the process is you must have a migration skill assessment, number one. Number two, you must have minimum at least a competent English, which is 6 in each of the modules of English examination, whether you are doing any kind of English examination, PTE, IELTS, TOEFL, CA. Previously, I mentioned at the start of the session, Aussizz group do provide, training and help with the PTE and IELTS. So if you are interested, you guys can go on and register yourself for PTE tutorials or IELTS tutorials if you are that type of a candidate who's focusing on IELTS. But yes, minimum 6 in each of English is required. Then comes your skill assessment, which I've already explained, and your points. The points will be more focusing upon your age, will be focusing upon your qualification, will be focusing upon your work experience, your English points, whether you have cleared NATI or not, whether you studied in regional or not, what is your partner's qualification, whether we can obtain your skill assessment for your partners and stuff. So these criteria are the minimum criteria, guys, before even we start discussing about getting and making an application for permanent residency to Australia. Now let's see how basically it works is, this is 189, 190 and 491. These two are permanent visas. This is a pathway to PR. Minimum points required are 65, 60 and 50. Now why we have said 60 is because 5 points are given by state for 190, makes up 65. And for 491, 15 points are given by state or relatives, which will be again 65. Skill assessment, all three visas require migration full scale assessment, not provisional. English requirement, at least 6 each is required in all of the, on all the visas required. Visa, permanent, temporary, leading to permanent, 1 and 1. Last week, there was an announcement made, most of the candidates who were holding 491 were very happy about it, because the department announced that, the minimum income threshold, which, we were thinking that, okay, department was saying 53,900 income must be met, was waived off, by the minister, and the minister was saying, okay, you don't need to meet any kind of income yet at the moment. Like the duration must be 3 years, but there is no set income. So yes, for 491, most of the candidates who are outside Australia, I'll probably say you go for 491 visas, because most of the states love inviting candidates for 491. If you are a skilled candidate possessing 7 to 8 years of work experience, which has been assessed by the Skill Assessment Authority, 190 is also a very good options, where we have seen candidates being invited by states who, love to have skilled workers rather than high points workers. Temporary skill shortage visas. Now, this is one of the visas, guys, which is going to become very popular in coming some of the years. It was during this pandemic, where a candidate must have 2 years of full-time work experience, and it's an employer-sponsored visas. Your occupation can be in S2SL list or MLTSSL list or ROL. So basically, guys, how it works is that there must be an employer who's willing to sponsor you. Okay, they have to go through a process to sponsor you. In that, you require minimum 2 years of work experience and skill assessment, depending upon what kind of occupations you are heading towards. In most of the managerial role, you do not require skill assessment. So if you are applying for jobs and employers are saying, okay, we want to bring you here and sponsor, you can always contact us. We'll try and educate you guys and employer how this basically 482 visa works, and then we go on from there. And the duration of the visa, if your occupation lies in STSL list, is 2+2, which means you can apply for 2 years and then again further 2 years. For MLTSSL list is 4 years, and most of the times the occupant who is holding MLTSSL list occupation on 482 visa will go ahead and submit their 186 visa application. This is which is employers nomination scheme permanent visas. So if you work for 3 years full time on your 482 visas with the same employer, you may be eligible for 186 TRT stream. If you have worked for 3 years full time anywhere in the world, you've done the skill assessment, and your employer wants to sponsor you, you may go ahead and submit visa applications for 186. Given that we have seen in past that most of the employers love to go from 482 to 186, but most of the occupations where you will see that some candidates straight away employers are bringing them on 186 because their skill is so important. Something like nurses, something like we have seen IT professionals. So this visa is also very good when it comes to straight PR pathways. 494 is also an employer sponsored visas, but this is basically your employer must be in the regional who's sponsoring you. Personally, I would say, rather than going for 494, we should always focus 491, 482 or 186, because it's very hard to find, those kind of employers, who are in regional and trying to sponsor you. Skill assessment is required. Your age must be under 45 and minimum 3 years of work experience, is required to go on with 494 visa. What is the importance of work experience? Now, we always advise candidates that if you are studying HR or marketing course, and you are planning to choose your PR pathways on the basis of that particular course, always go ahead and start finding and start looking for the jobs related in your field. The reason behind that is that you can utilize those work experience for your skill assessment, number one, which is required. Number two, for your points. When we are considering points, for an example, if you have worked in Australia for 1 year, it will give you 5 points, if it has been assessed that, you are holding that kind of a skill level. You can utilize this work experience heading towards to 482, 494 or 186 employer sponsored visas. Now, while we are going through this, employer sponsored visas as well, guys, what we are expecting in future is that there might be, only one list which will be followed by all the candidates in coming future, and employer sponsored visas are going to be the one where candidates will have easy pathways towards PR, because they might be adding many occupations toward that, 186, 482 to 186 pathways. Let's go on doing a revision of the session, guys. So, it was too much information. If I'm a candidate and I don't know, where to start, this is where we're gonna start. What is my step number one? I must have a migration skill assessment. Okay, what is this? The skill assessment tells us what is our occupation. So if you're in a marketing or if you're in an HR role, you must get the skill assessment first. As explained, your assessing authority will be either 𝐸𝐻 or your assessing authority will be IML. Given that, if your skill assessment authority is 𝐸𝐻, minimum 1 year of work experience will be required. When we are considering IML, depending upon your qualification and stuff, 2 to 3 years of work experience is required, major in HR manager. Once you have applied for the skill assessment, if you have obtained the positive skill assessment, then you start gathering your points. Okay, now points, it's always handy while we have applied for the skill assessment, guys, that you download the 𝐸𝐴 app, or you must talk to your migration agent, understanding what points, how the point system is going to work, and what are your points at that particular stage. Age factors kicks in, experience, your English, your partner points. There are a lot many factors, and a lot many situations which a migration agent will be assessing before educating you how many points you are holding. If you want to assess your points by yourself, 𝐸𝐴 is the application which I mentioned earlier, guys. You should go on, download the 𝐸𝐴 app, and you go from there, understanding that, okay, how many points I'm gathering at the moment and what else can be done to achieve those points. Once you've got the skill assessment, you've gathered the points, which is minimum 65 points, you should start checking the eligibility requirement for the states if you're going for 190 and 491. Then step number 4, EUIs and state nominations. Now, this is very critical sort of, area, guys. We have seen people lodging wrong EUIs. We have seen people lodging, state nominations and, giving false information to the states, and states end up banning the candidates for 6 months. So always make sure, guys, when you are submitting your EUIs, you must have a valid score, your valid skill assessment, your passports must be valid, so there is no waste of time. We do understand that the immigration, minister announced that, okay, while you're invited, you have given those 60 days to obtain the skill assessment. In most of the situations, there are assessing authorities like 𝐸𝐻. If you're not going on priority basis, they will be taking somewhere around about 3 to 4 months in giving you the skill assessment. So do not go ahead and submit your EUIs where you believe if your skill assessment authority is taking more than 60 days to give you the skill assessment, because basically you will be, getting your visa refused. So yes, moving on to EUIs, we have done it. What is EUI? I'll explain you a little bit more about EUIs, guys, as well. That is, it's a points, what kind of points you are holding. It's a summary of the points. I'm holding these many points for the age. This is my qualification. This is my date of birth. This is my name. It's all that, information about yourself, which is going towards state and the Department of Home Affairs. And then the assessing, parties will see whether they're going to invite you or not, or whether they're going to invite that particular occupation or not. Okay, step number 5 will be, you'll be invited by the visa, by the department to lodge the visa. Basically, here you have been invited that, okay, we like your profile, send us all your documentations, let us make the, final assessment, and then your visa is granted. Now, when the assessment has been made for the visa, there will be other factors like your character, your health assessments, if you are dependent, if you have dependents, if you got your partner as well, everybody must meet, health assessments, character assessments, requirements to make sure you're eligible eligible for permanent residency to Australia. Okay, step number 6, once your visa is granted, be part of this beautiful Australian community. So this is how basically the process is gonna go. Normally for my clients, I always advise them that step number 1 is let's do the skill assessment. While I'm in process of assessing the documents, I'll start educating them about PTE. I'll start educating them about NATI, so that the candidate's already prioritizing himself one step further while we're waiting for the skill assessment. So this is basically how the process is gonna work. So if you guys have any kind of questions, you can feel free, and hopefully you must have understood how the process is going to work towards this marketing and HR sort of courses. We do understand, guys, these courses are not that sort of popular courses. Sometimes, candidates are saying us, okay, I'm wasting my time and money, but it's more or less, you should understand that in which state you are living in, in which area you are working in, before you start, switching on, understanding that, okay, whether I should go on to change my course or not. Okay, so if you guys have got any kind of questions, you can go on and feel free. Okay, now I've got Raghav. Raghav is saying, is it compulsory to give IELTS for PR? Definitely, Raghav. Is as I've mentioned, that minimum 6 in each is required, unless you are holding the passport for eligible countries, for example, UK, Australia, New Zealand. So those are certain certain countries where you will not be required to undergo English examination. But yeah, if you are not holding that kind of visas, you will have to give IELTS. Nandan is saying yes, bro, and that's a nice sort of a gesture which you have given us, Nandan. Thank you very much. If yes, what are the band requirements? As I've mentioned, minimum 6 in each is required. Nandan, if you're giving PT, that means 50 in each. If you're giving IELTS, 6 in each. Okay, moving forward. Do I have better chance of positive skill assessment if I work more than 20 hours, or it doesn't really matter? Now, Kalin Fam has asked me this question. See again, Fam, when it comes to the skill assessment, minimum requirement is 20 hours. So when we are saying, okay, is it a better chance to get the skill assessment? Now, it's not the hours, it's the duties, your roles and responsibilities, which will be coming into scenarios. How are you going to convince the case officer or the assessor, I should say? In most of the situations, if you are going with marketing, or if you are going with the HR, sort of occupation, organization chart is very crucial document where the assessor will be looking at, okay, how much pay he's getting and all those kind of things. So it's pretty, rather than not only hours, a lot of many factors will also kick in. Okay, moving forward, can you explain the subclass 189? Also, is it a permanent resident visa? Definitely, Raghav. Permanent 189 is the best permanent resident visa. In regards to understanding how it's going to work, we're going to be having another session done by a different migration agent, which will be explaining you how basically 189 visa works. I've tried my very best to give you a sort of a handy hint that you must have skill assessment minimum points, and we wait for the department to get the invitation done. Anshul is saying the points that are mentioned in the skill assessment for marketing, how many of those should be on our job description? See, normally, Anshul, we have seen candidates who have, basically copy pasted, I should say the duties from different sort of, websites which are available nowadays on the market. Assessors are pretty, informed about those websites and all those. So when it comes to mentioning the points or what kind of roles we are doing, we are expecting at least 5 to 10. the more you can provide us, is even better. Sometimes, any kind of roles which you believe that doesn't suits your, position relevancy, but you are very eager to, give it to the assessor, just put it in your resume. Don't put it on the letterhead. The only reason behind that is because the companies don't like to mention too many duties. They might be giving you 10 duties on spot. That's it, what he does, and rest you have to try to put it on your resume to explain them, that okay, this is what I've done. There are some companies, I shouldn't say that, companies are like, nah, mate, we're not going to give you any kind of document. Okay, in that cases, what you're going to do is you have to try and educate the assessor through your resume, that this is the project which I've done, this is my duties which I've done, so this is how it's going to work. So yes, it's pretty sort of handy information, which assessor will be focusing on organization chart, number one, your duties, and number three, your resume. They are trying to see what kind of professionalism that particular candidate is coming from. Okay, Anshul. So Fam has said, thanks, Kamaljeet. Thanks, Fam. It's always good to have people, who have joined our session. Hopefully we might have, got you some kind of information. It's always handy to talk to a migration agent who's is closer to you to understand how the process works. Can I get skill assessment with experience from multiple? Definitely. They have said 1 year of work experience. It can be from certain sort of companies, as long as you are able to provide them those documentations like organization chart, your work reference letters, and all those kind of things. So as long as you are able to provide them all the minimum sort of requirements, whether you are using for 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, 10, 15, it doesn't really matters. Raghav is saying thank you so much. No, thanks, Raghav. Thanks for joining. It's always good to have people like you who have spent time in at least commenting and appreciating our good work. Anshul, thank you so much for detail. In case I'm detailing most of the things on my resume, should I keep the projects that I've been working on with? See, Anshul, when it comes to occupations, which the session which I'm doing upon is marketing and HR, they do not really work on projects. They are more into policies. HR is more into policies. Marketing is more into policies. There are certain other occupations who are focusing on project like engineering, IT. So in your case, what we are expecting, if I'm your assessor, what I'm expecting is, okay, have you done something where the company went from a small scale to a bigger scale? Say, let's say, for example, you were working, let's take an example in Malaysia, where there was like, you were minding a team of 20 people. So there were, shorter policies, different country policies. Then you came to Australia, and here you will see, okay, you were managing like 80 people, different policies, different sort of workplace. So this is what the assessor is trying to understand, that, okay, if you are going into a professional sort of a role, how you are managing the companies, and what is basically your input towards the company's policies. So managerial role are all about policies rather than projects. Project is more dealing with, IT sectors and engineering sectors and all those kind of occupations. Okay, but yeah, it was a pretty, good informative session, I believe, for you guys to understand how the marketing and HR occupation is going to work. Coming into, okay, for marketing specialist, is portfolio marketing collaterals mandatory to support my application? See, Liz, when it comes to marketing specialist, it's always good to try and provide them whatever is possible, you believe is possible for you to provide them. What they are trying to assess there is, when you are making any kind of assessments, okay, you are marketing specialist, okay, what kind of assessments have you done? You are doing research, what kind of research you could have done, which, where companies, appreciated. So we have seen, many marketing specialists giving us all these small companies, internal awards and skill, courses which the companies go through. So it's so many things which will come into factor when we are going through skill assessment, but it's always good to mention all these kind of, portfolios, where you started and where you are heading towards. If you believe you have done good work, it's always good to mention in your resume. You should be proud of yourself, and assessors are looking at all those kind of things, and then it's easy for them to contact your HR or your directors or your managers or your team leaders to understand. And then basically the skill assessment process goes very easy. Okay. I don't think so there are any pros and cons of priority processing. I'll probably say it's beneficial for those guys who are losing points for age, who are losing points for IELTS or PTE. We should always go with priority processing, rather than what is priority processing is basically, guys, when you are going through VET-assess, there is a normal process and a priority process. What does normal process will take something around about 3 months plus before an assessor is allocated to your application. With priority processing is basically, the assessor will be allocated somewhere around about in 1 to 10 days. So this is only the difference between priority processing. So we always recommend to candidates who are losing points, for their age or who have been invited and they are now planning to get the skill assessment. We always advise them, let's go with the priority processing. So this is basically how the priority processing works, that the case officer will be allocated to your file first, rather than the candidate who has gone into normal track to obtain the skill assessment. Yes, Manisha, I hope it answers your questions. So that was it from our side, guys. Hopefully you have enjoyed this session. Myself, I'm sitting in Melbourne, Collins Street branch. Thanks for our team who have always been with us, supporting this conclave. Thanks to you guys who have basically registered yourself to understand this. My details are mentioned in the chat. If you got any questions in regards to your assessments, or if you need any help in regards to your visa matters, you can always email us. Thanks for joining. If you have got any other questions as well, you can leave on. Our marketing team will be trying to get those questions towards me, and I'll try my very best to answer you those questions. That was it from my side, and hopefully, guys, you will have a nice evening. If you're in Australia, if you're outside Australia, enjoy your day and look after yourself. And we hope to see you getting permanent resident in Australia anytime soon in the coming future. Until then, have a nice day.